Hello, and welcome to another episode of the All or Nothing podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about the saints, in particular, Padre Pio, who's my favorite male saint, which I'll tell you all about. And I'd want to share with you a special gift that I received in 2008. So, if you are interested in Padre Pio, he's an incredible saint. I just encourage you to listen to this, and I'll tell you a little bit about his life, and then also share my personal experience with Padre Pio. First of all, I want to wish everyone a happy Pentecost. That happened yesterday. I'm recording today on June 9th, which is the Mary Mother of the Church. We have some wonderful feast days coming up in June as well. I just hope you're all doing well. To get started, I just want to clear the air a little bit about the saints. If you're not Catholic, a lot of people have confusion around what Catholics believe and are we praying to dead people and we shouldn't have anyone other than God as our mediator. It says that in the Bible. And what are you doing talking to dead people and asking for their prayers? There are so many YouTube videos on this. So I'm going to encourage you to go to Catholic Answers or Ascension Presents. I will give a few little things because I don't want to get into all the apologetics. In 1 Timothy 2, verse 1, the Bible encourages Christians to pray for one another. If there was only one mediator, we couldn't ask others to pray for us, which of course we do. And I know Protestants are very comfortable with that as well, as asking for prayers. We are just asking for prayers of people who've gone before us, who are in heaven. And we know that through confirmed miracles of intercession through the Catholic Church that are tested by scientists, medical records, all those things. So we just have really close friends in heaven. Revelation describes the prayers of saints being offered to God. The saints are mentioned in Revelation 5, verse 8. Protestants view the saints as us on earth, but it's referring to the saints in heaven. The Bible also mentions a cloud of witnesses of faithful people who've come before us, acknowledging the witnesses of people. That's in Hebrews 12, verse 1. There's so many things of intercession that we ask for their prayers. Also, I have a statue of Padre Pio. I got that in Florida. I absolutely love it. And I brought him with me here. We don't worship statues or idols. Even God had to make a bronze statue. That's from Exodus 25:18 and Numbers 21:9. You can go there and look it up where that all has come from. So we don't worship them. They're just reminders, like pictures. If you have pictures in your house, you're not worshiping your family. You are simply having there as a reminder. So the more holy objects I have in my house, it keeps me thinking about God and the saints. For me, the saints, I can really relate to them. Jesus, of course, I love and I love the Lord. I can't relate to his perfection, but the saints, yeah, I can. So it's been a huge part of my conversion and deepening of my faith is reading the lives of the saints, Padre Pio being one of them. They are so imperfect. Some of them have lived incredibly wild lives. Some of them always kind of had the faith and had a deeper conversion. But there's so many stories of the struggle and being able to become a saint, which we are all called to do, by the way. We are all called to be holy, which that's just becoming the fullness of who God's intended us to be and to put God first in all things. We are called to be saints. I look to them to ask for their prayers because they've been here, done that, and had the struggles that we've had, some even more than us. So I just want to throw that out there to begin, why we ask for the intercession of saints. And that also goes with Our Lady as well, the Blessed Mother. If you really do want to know, I encourage you to please find out, not to believe everything you hear about what Catholics believe, but go to a solid Catholic source that will actually tell you the truth about what we believe. So I want to start with that. Okay, so I'll just start with Padre Pio. I have many favorite saints, and I will mention them a little bit more later. I've heard this saying before where they say, you don't choose the saints, they choose you. And Padre Pio literally came out of nowhere. I was living in Ottawa, it was probably the year 2000, 2001, and I came across this book on Padre Pio. And even though I'm a teacher, I'm not a huge reader. Like I'm an audiobook type of person or podcast, but I need to be moving to sit and read a book. I get so distracted that it's very difficult for me to read a book. I read Padre Pio's book, and the author's last name was Ruffin, because someone asked me before, the biography of Padre Pio. It was captivating to me. And there was a story in there, and I referred to this in one of my other podcasts. And so I won't get into all of it because I want to tell you something new about my experience with Padre Pio today. But there was a story where Padre Pio helped a man with his vocation. And this guy wanted to be a priest. He flew to Italy. I said to Padre Pio, I want to be a priest. And Padre said, no, you are going to be married. And he's like, what? He's like, there's no woman's going to want me. I'm a little Italian man. And he said, oh, yes, you will. And you'll meet her here. And this is not psychic stuff, by the way. He had the gift of reading souls and the gift of prophecy. So Sure enough, this happened. I remember journaling in my prayer journal saying, like, Padre Pio, could you please pray for my future spouse? And I'm going to ask that you be the guardian of my heart and that they need to go through you to get to me. And I had this image of Padre Pio standing before a cage with my heart in it. Almost like if any of you guys have seen Beauty and the Beast, where the rose petals are falling in this cage. It was almost like that, but with my heart, and Padre Pio standing in front of it with a staff. Basically, like, if you want to get to her, you need to go through me. And I felt like, just be a spiritual father to me and please pray for my future husband. So that's how it all started. In 2008, I was doing pro-life work in the United States, and I had the opportunity to go to Rome, go to this pro-life conference at the Vatican. So I knew, I'm like, okay. And I'd been there once before for World Youth Day with John Paul II in 2000, incredible experience. But I was like, okay, if I'm going, no matter what, I am going to St. Giovanni Rotondo, where Padre Pio, his body is, where he lived and where his body lays to rest. Honestly, it was quite a process trying to figure out how to get there. I basically took a taxi, a train, and a bus. I went all the way there and came all the way back the same day. Before I left for that trip, I was in Madison, Wisconsin, in a hotel room at the Sheraton by myself. I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I had a rosary, and it was Padre Pio, just like this one. And I was just looking at it, and I was so excited. I was more excited about going to see Padre Pio than anything else about the trip. As I was laying there, I was talking to my friend on the phone. This intense perfume, like choking, this beautiful scent, but very strong, came into the room. And I was kind of choking a little bit because it was so profoundly strong. But I had this peace come over me. But I'm on the phone with my friend from Denver, and I just said, I need to let you go. There's this really crazy perfume. I think someone must have broke a bottle outside of my door. So I get off the phone, I go out to the hallway, looking around for a wet spot on the floor. There was nothing. And I just laid there, and this like peace came over me. I had still had no idea what that was. And it lasted about an hour, and then the scent went away. The next morning, I was on the phone with my mom, getting ready and packing up my stuff because I was flying out to Rome. I was telling my mom about this experience with this perfume. And as I was on the phone with her, this like huge scent came again very powerfully. I'm like, Mom, it's happening right now. This intense perfume. What is going on? I opened the door again and looking around, there's nobody there. I went and I looked up perfume, and I come to find out that people who are visiting Padre Pio, who are making a pilgrimage, that Padre Pio often sends a strong perfume for the souls that he's close to. And I just was like, oh, no way. And here I am making my pilgrimage to St. Giovanni Rotondo and this perfume, and that other people had this experience. I was floored, absolutely floored, and just so touched. I think for me, as a middle child, being chosen and being sought after really means a lot to me. And so many people love Padre Pio too, and they have a special relationship, and I'm not taking away anything about that. But just for me, I needed to feel chosen by a saint and something special, and we all have that. And so many people have had these experiences with Padre Pio, but I think I needed something like that from him. And I didn't even know that I did. When I finally arrived in Rome and got to St. Giovanni Rotondo, it's the second most visited shrine in the world. Our Lady Guadalupe is number one. Padre Pio is next. I think there's about, I don't know, there's more than 7 million that go a year. And it's really far from Rome. So it's quite a little jaunt. I was there, and it was another miracle when I went down to his tomb that I was the only person there. And I was alone with Padre Pio at his tomb. And I got to pray and actually talk to him out loud. I was saying everything that I needed, and I'm just so excited to be here. And I went to the museum area and saw all his clothes with the blood stains. For those of you who don't know, Padre Pio had the stigmata. So he had the wounds of Christ for 50 years. So he had holes in his hands, his feet, and his side. They had all of his stuff there. And what's so miraculous about it all is that they would smell of perfume, oddly enough. It wasn't, it was the blood. And he always wanted to be humble. He wanted to cover his hands. People were fascinated with him, as we are as human beings, with the supernatural. He also had the gift of bilocation, where he could be at someone's deathbed and also be praying in the monastery with his brother priests. And that had been recorded many times. Also, the devil, literally the fight with the devil, where Satan showed up in his bedroom and would beat him up. and tell him to stop being a priest. And he's been attacked since he was like, had spiritual attacks since he was 5 years old. One time, Satan came to his room and shook his bed and said, and Padre Pio looked over and he goes, "Ah, it's only you." That's not what I'd be saying. He's also a really powerful intercessor for those of you who are attacked spiritually, and ask for his intercession. He could also read your souls in confession. Lots of people were there in line. Padre Pio would do about 16 hours a day in the confessional, hearing people's confession. And so he had the gift of reading souls, and he would tell people their sins if they were leaving them out. He didn't do that to humiliate them, but wanted everything to come out so people could really repent and get rid of it. So many people hide their sin out of shame. I've done that before when I was younger. Now I know you can't do that if you want to have a valid confession. So he would call it out, and sometimes people would forget. That is incredible. I would love to have a priest like that now, be able to go through my whole life. And if I've forgotten to confess any serious sin, that I could do that and get that off my soul. And just what a gift of peace that that brings. There's been many stories about Padre Pio reading souls in confession and guiding people with their futures. He's just an incredible intercessor. Unfortunately, I went there in February 2008. March 3rd, it was 8 days after I left Italy. His body was exhumed and he was found to be incorrupt. For those of you who have never heard of this, this is where their bodies, Padre Pio's body did not decompose. You can look up the incorruptibles of all these Catholic saints. Scientists can't understand it. There's no formaldehyde, there's nothing. It's a miracle. Some people need those kind of signs to believe. Now, of course, sort of like the doubting Thomas, where Jesus says it's better to have not seen and yet believe, but he will also do anything. He'll go to the ends of the earth for us. He'll even have bodies not decompose to show, like, I am who I say that I am. However, there are people, even with seeing the incorrupts, who still don't believe. Jesus himself could come into a room with his big sandals on and people still wouldn't believe. But for some, it can be the difference between following the Lord and the church or not. I'm so grateful for these miracles and the way that the Lord pursues us. It's incredible. One thing I really love about Padre Pio is his love for the Blessed Mother. And he's been a huge example to me about praying the rosary every day. He would pray like 36 rosaries a day. That's a meditation on the life of Christ. You can look up that too. What is the rosary? It's not a prayer to Mary, it's with Mary to her son, Jesus, and thinking about all the different parts of Jesus's life. Padre Pio loved her. He had often would have visions of the Blessed Mother, the Lord, and his guardian angel. He could see his guardian angel. There was a story once where Satan was beating him up, and he could see his guardian angel and he was asking him to help him. He was mad at his guardian angel because he didn't help, but the guardian angel said that he was permitted not to help that time. We don't know the reasons why, of course, but Padre Pio was not happy about it. Padre Pio, he's just so human. He could be very impatient and have a bit of a temper. He would take his little cord around his waist because he would be a monk and hit the people with it and say, like, hey, push away. And that might sound like, how could a saint do this? You can only imagine the thousands of people, millions of people that come every year that are pulling on him and just not respecting him as a person. He would get frustrated. But I heard he had a really great sense of humor. He would always do pranks on his fellow priests. He only died in 1968, but he is someone special. He shows up often for me. I shared this in one of my podcasts recently where someone at the church I go to, the Carmelite priest, came up to me, and I had been praying for his mom who's dying, who I never met, but I heard she was dying. I said, I'll pray for her. And I want to make sure, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I used to tell people I'll pray for them and then I'd forget. And I made a point many years ago to say, if I tell someone I'm going to pray for them, I'm going to pray for them so they can be assured to know, to have comfort that I am praying for them. So I said I would pray for this woman and never met her. She's in her 90s. And I was talking to someone after church, and this man came up to me and he said, I have something for you. And he gave me this rosary from St. Giovanni Rotondo. He had no idea that I had this devotion and love for Padre Pio. He gave me this. He also gave me another little picture of Padre Pio in Italian that basically says, pray, hope, and don't worry is his major slogan. But there was more than that there. And I was really taken back because I don't know these people really well. He just sees me at daily mass, and he said, this is for you. I said, how did you know? Like, I was blown away. But my friend, Father Frank, told him, he said, he was giving this to Father Frank and said, I love Padre Pio, but I know someone who would appreciate this even more. You should give this to Nicole. I got emotional. I just felt, thank you, Padre Pio. He shows up. He's always there. And I just really needed him in my life. My dad is a very strong Catholic man, but just a spiritual friend in heaven advocating for me. I felt that closeness with him. So I want to encourage you. I have a little book here of Padre Pio to get to know Padre Pio. And his intercession is very powerful. And some of you may have devotions to other saints, and you can leave in the comments who your favorite saints are. It's very specific for some reason to us. There's a reason why we are drawn to certain saints. And sometimes it's surprising. There's saints I've never really thought I would be drawn to, and then I get to know their stories, and there's this connection. So just to share a few other ones, and then I'll wrap it up here, is Saint Therese of Lisieux. She is the most popular saint of modern day times. And obviously, I have to share it with the rest of the world as they have to share it with me. And I got to go to Lisieux as well in France. And when I was really coming into my faith around 19 years old, I did the retreats for a year in the United States, the Catholic Ministry Net. I recommend that too, by the way. If you're between 18 and 30, check out Net Ministries if you want to serve a year of youth retreats for kids to come to know Christ in the church. I started learning a lot about St. Therese when I was 19, and I heard that she'll send you roses from heaven. And there's many novenas, so I do a 9-day prayer and ask for a specific rose for something specific. And I have received that several times. But I totally abused this. I was completely young in my faith, and I would start praying for all these different color roses. Could this be my husband? Crazy. And yellow rose for this, white rose for this. Saint Therese, God love her, she just stood by me, and she's become a really good friend. I could really relate to her anxieties as a little girl. I don't know if any of you read The Story of a Soul. Do yourself a favor and read that book. She lost her mom when she was 5, and she became a nun when she was 15. And died at 24 from tuberculosis. Her journey was doing small things with great love, very similar to Mother Teresa, but no one ever thought she was anything special. This is how God sees our hearts. For us to become a saint, she would sweep the floor. So can we. Vacuum, whatever you do, and offer that as a prayer to Jesus. Everything was done interiorly, to the point that when she was dying, she could overhear the sisters. Her window was open, and 2 of the nuns were saying, whatever are we going to say about Therese when she dies? She never really was that special. She didn't really do anything. And Saint Therese in humility just smiled like, yes, everything's just between me and the Lord. She would offer everything and just trusted in his mercy. She had such trust in his mercy. I really loved her. She also had difficulties at school with fitting in and stuff, and I moved around a lot as a kid. So there was just so much about her life that I just really connected with. So she is definitely one of my favorites. And it was very special to be able to go there as well. Some of my other ones, again, these are not going to be surprises because they're probably half of your favorite saints too. John Paul II, I got to see him twice at World Youth Day in Toronto and in Rome. His presence I would just get emotional, not because I thought he was God, but because he just would emulate Christ so much. His face would shine. You felt individually loved. And he's going by in the Pope mobile, and he never even had a conversation. But I knew that he loved us, and I felt so loved. He is absolutely my favorite Pope of all time, John Paul II. Pray for us. My new favorite saint to be, and that's what the podcast is named after, All or Nothing documentary, is Sister Claire Crockett from Ireland. She's now servant of God. She is not a saint yet, but they're looking into her cause. Died in 2016. She's hilarious. She was a party girl, 18. Thought she was going on a pilgrimage going to party in Spain, and she finds out it was a pilgrimage. She's like, what? A pilgrimage. She skipped out on all these talks and then would go to the bar and sunbathe. She was so funny. But on Good Friday, they're like, Claire, you got to go to kiss the cross. And she's like, all right, well, if everyone's doing it, I got to do it too. As she gets close to kissing the cross on Good Friday and they're holding the crucifix, it was a moment of grace, this miracle where she knew that Jesus died for her sins on the cross. And she's like, I killed God. And this conviction of sin. And she went back to her pew, she wept. And she always said she was going to be famous. She was really moving up with Nickelodeon. She was getting different roles. She was going to be this big star. And she was up and coming in Ireland. And the next step was her coming to the United States to start going to Hollywood and all those kind of things. And then she felt this conviction to become a nun, and her family did not want it. But she went home after that and had the worst year of her life with sin. She said, I thought I was changed, but there's so much temptation. And of course, Satan, he knows. when we're trying, sometimes our hardest temptations come. She was drinking more, had boyfriends. She shared all this in her documentary, and she was really drunk one night and she was sick at a bar, throwing up in the toilet. And the Lord showed her there. She heard his voice, like someone was looking at her. She didn't see him, but she heard him say, "Why do you keep hurting me?" And she knew, I need to follow through and become a nun, because she had felt that call the year before when she was in Spain. Anyway, becomes a nun. It took about 10 years. They said she didn't arrive as a saint. She's like 18, 19 years old. They said it took a long time, but her humility, her love, her joy with kids, she would teach them, and the kids were all around Claire. She was so funny. She would grab a piece of a branch from the road and be like, "Oh, okay, so tell me," and start interviewing people with a stick. Just silly, fun. She drew so many people to Christ. The one thing I loved about her too was that all the teenage girls want to be around her. And the other sisters thought, oh, they were shocked because Claire would be hard on them. You got to have modesty and purity, and you got to live a good life, and it's all or nothing. You can't live a mediocre. You can't be gray. You have to choose all or nothing. And she tell them the truth. She thought, oh, they're not going to want to hear that. They're not going to be anywhere near Claire. Well, no, they had Claire had a following of all these, especially young girls who wanted to be near her because she told them the truth, but with love and conviction, because she's like, I live this. I'm not saying this out of judgment, but don't do what I did. Become holy, become a saint. So anyway, I just will wrap it up with the fact that we are called to be saints. We are called to be holy. And we don't have to be like Mother Teresa necessarily, unless you're called to be out on the streets. It could be wife and mother. I have wonderful friends who I'm sure are becoming saints right now, quietly making sandwiches for their husband for work, sweeping the floor, offering all things for love. It's that interior. Saint Therese never left the convent. She was a cloistered nun, and she's the doctor of the church. It's our interior life and the way that we make everything a prayer. I always tell people, don't waste your suffering. If you're stressed, if you're physically suffering, offer that as a prayer for the conversion of someone, for the conversion of yourself, to unite yourself to the suffering of God. That is a prayer, and we miss the opportunity. Certain churches will say, we're just here to prosper. If you're suffering, that means, what have you done wrong? If you're sick, you're not praying enough. No. Jesus, some of his closest friends are those who have cancer laying in bed, offering their suffering and uniting it to the cross, because we can't get through this life without suffering. It's a consequence of the fall. It also can be redemptive, and we can repair our souls from the sin that we've caused ourselves and others with suffering. The Lord wants to make us holy. Suffering can make us bitter or better. Instead of cursing the crosses in our life and being angry with it, why, Lord, or why me? I can offer that and not complain about it, but make it a prayer. Unite your sufferings with Christ. He wants that from us, and he will come so close to us, because he knows what it means to suffer, and he loves us. We can't avoid it. Those are just some of my favorite saints, and my experience with Padre Pio with the perfume was just something I thought. Some people were asking me, who are your favorite saints? Maybe you can do something on the saints. So that was something I want to share. I would love to hear who your favorite saints are and why. Again, there's so many that I've had connections with over the years. There's just so many. Research them. Put in the patron saint of something that you need and see who comes up that you can maybe connect with if you don't have anyone you connect with right now. There are saints out there who want to know you and who want you to know them for a very specific reason. We're all different. The way Padre Pio shows up for me is different than he's going to show up to one of his other spiritual children. But it's what I need, and he brings it in a certain way to me. We all have that kind of different relationship. So anyway, that's that. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I hope you like and subscribe, because it does help me to share the message a little more. And you can share it with your friends and family. I would really appreciate that. And God's will be done with this podcast. Whatever he wants it to be is what I want it to be. Have a wonderful day. Please know my prayers. I do pray for you, and please pray for me. God bless. Bye.